Are you tired of feeling like a doormat? Do people keep pushing your boundaries and you just let them? Listen up, because today we're diving deep into the 7 things that self-respecting people never tolerate. And trust me, number 5, it's going to change how you view relationships forever. What you're about to learn isn't just some feel-good advice. These are battle-tested principles straight from ancient Stoic wisdom, repackaged for our modern world. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stand your ground without being a jerk about it. Number 1, disrespect disguised as jokes. We've all been there. Someone makes a cutting remark and quickly follows it with, "Just kidding." But here's the truth. Self-respecting people understand that humor should never come at the cost of someone's dignity. When you tolerate these jokes, you're essentially putting a welcome sign on your back for more abuse. Think about it. Would you let someone repeatedly punch you and then say, "Just playing around"? Of course not. So why accept emotional punches dressed up as humor? This isn't about being overly sensitive. It's about maintaining your personal standards. The problem runs deeper than just bad jokes. When you consistently accept disrespectful humor, you're training others to treat you as a punching bag. You're signaling that your boundaries are flexible and your self-worth is negotiable. Real respect doesn't come with a punchline. When someone genuinely respects you, they lift you up, not tear you down. They understand that true humor brings people together rather than creating division. Here's what's fascinating. Research shows that people who consistently use degrading humor often mask their own insecurities. By understanding this, you can see these jokes for what they really are, attempts to establish dominance. The solution isn't to become humorless. Instead, learn to distinguish between playful banter and disguised disrespect. When someone crosses the line, address it immediately. "I know you meant that as a joke, but it felt disrespectful." Remember, your response sets the precedent for future interactions. By addressing these jokes head-on, you're not just standing up for yourself in the moment. You're creating a blueprint for how others should treat you. The key is consistency. Don't let it slide just this once, because each exception becomes a potential rule in the eyes of others. Your dignity isn't a part-time job, it's a full-time commitment. True strength lies in being able to maintain your standards without becoming aggressive. You can firmly reject disrespectful behavior while keeping your composure. This balance is what earns genuine respect. Those who truly value themselves understand that accepting joking disrespect isn't a sign of being easygoing. It's a form of self-betrayal. Every time you laugh off disrespect, you're telling yourself that your dignity is negotiable. Your self-respect isn't just about you. It sets the standard for every relationship in your life. When you refuse to tolerate disrespectful jokes, you're not just protecting yourself. You're teaching others how to interact with dignity. The moment you start treating your self-respect as non-negotiable, you'll notice a shift in how people approach you. They'll think twice before disguising their disrespect as humor, and your relationships will become more authentic. Number 2, silent treatment and passive aggression. Let's tackle something that's poisoning relationships everywhere: the silent treatment and passive-aggressive behavior. Self-respecting individuals recognize these tactics for what they are: emotional manipulation wrapped in a bow of avoidance. Passive aggression is cowardice masquerading as conflict resolution. When someone chooses to slam doors, give one-word answers, or use subtle digs instead of direct communication, they're attempting to punish you without taking responsibility for their actions. The silent treatment isn't just annoying. It's actually recognized by psychologists as a form of emotional abuse. It's designed to make you feel isolated, confused, and ultimately responsible for someone else's emotional state. Self-respecting people understand that healthy relationships thrive on clear, direct communication. When you accept passive-aggressive behavior, you're participating in a dance of dysfunction that never leads to real resolution. Here's what makes this particularly insidious. Passive-aggressive people often position themselves as victims while actively causing harm. They'll deny their behavior while simultaneously escalating it, creating a maddening cycle of gaslighting. The solution is radical directness. When faced with passive aggression, call it out immediately. I notice you're being distant. If something's wrong, let's discuss it openly. This approach leaves no room for emotional games. Strong individuals insist on direct communication, even when it's uncomfortable. They understand that temporary discomfort during an honest conversation is far better than the prolonged stress of dealing with passive aggression. This doesn't mean you need to be confrontational. Instead, create an environment where direct communication feels safe. Make it clear that you prefer honest disagreement over subtle hostility. Remember, accepting passive-aggressive behavior isn't being patient. It's enabling emotional immaturity. Every time you play along with these tactics, you're reinforcing them as effective strategies. Setting this boundary often means being prepared for pushback. Some people are so accustomed to using passive aggression that direct communication feels threatening to them. Stand firm. Your peace of mind is worth it. The beauty of refusing to engage with passive aggression is that it usually leads to one of two outcomes. Either the person learns to communicate directly with you, or they remove themselves from your life. Both outcomes are victories. By refusing to participate in passive-aggressive dynamics, you're not just protecting your own mental health. You're actually helping others develop better communication skills, even if they resist at first. Number 3, chronic lateness. Time is the most precious non-renewable resource we have, and self-respecting people understand this at their core. When someone is chronically late, they're not just wasting minutes. They're sending a clear message about how they value you and your time. The psychology behind tolerating chronic lateness is fascinating. Often, we make excuses for late people, telling ourselves that's just how they are or they're just busy. But here's the truth. Chronically late people are showing you exactly where you rank in their priorities. Let's be crystal clear. Occasional lateness due to genuine emergencies or unforeseen circumstances isn't what we're talking about. We're addressing the pattern of consistent lateness, the people who make you wait 20 minutes every single time you meet. The impact of chronic lateness goes beyond just wasted time. It creates a power dynamic where one person consistently demonstrates that their time is more valuable than yours. It's a subtle form of dominance that self-respecting people refuse to accept. Here's what makes this behavior particularly toxic. Chronic lateness often comes packaged with elaborate excuses and seemingly sincere apologies. But actions speak louder than words, and repeated behavior reveals true intentions. Self-respecting individuals understand that setting time boundaries isn't just about punctuality. It's about maintaining equilibrium in relationships. When you consistently tolerate lateness, you're accepting a subordinate position in the relationship dynamic. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires firmness. Set clear expectations. I'll wait 15 minutes, after that I'm leaving. Then, and this is crucial, follow through. No exceptions, no matter how important the meeting or how close the relationship. This boundary setting often triggers resistance. Late people might accuse you of being rigid or unsympathetic. Remember, respecting your own time isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining healthy relationships. What's particularly interesting is how chronic lateness often reveals deeper respect issues in relationships. When you start enforcing time boundaries, you'll quickly discover who genuinely values your relationship and who's been taking advantage of your flexibility. The transformation happens when you shift your mindset from accepting excuses to requiring respect. Your time is valuable, and treating it as such isn't just about scheduling, it's about self-worth. Professional relationships, friendships, and even family dynamics improve dramatically when you stop tolerating chronic lateness. People either adjust their behavior to meet your standards, or they self-select out of your inner circle. By refusing to tolerate chronic lateness, you're not just protecting your time. You're demonstrating self-respect that ripples through all your relationships, creating a foundation of mutual respect and consideration. Number 4, Emotional manipulation. In the realm of personal boundaries, emotional manipulation is perhaps the most insidious violation. It's like a slow-acting poison that can corrupt even the strongest relationships, and self-respecting individuals recognize its patterns immediately. Emotional manipulators are masters at playing the victim while actually being the aggressor. They'll make you feel guilty for having reasonable needs, twist your words to serve their narrative, and somehow always end up being the wounded party in every conflict. The tactics are diverse, but the pattern is consistent. Guilt-tripping, emotional blackmail, gaslighting, and manufactured crises. These aren't just annoying behaviors. They're calculated attempts to control your actions and emotions. Self-respecting people understand that emotional manipulation often comes disguised as care or concern. "I'm just worried about you," or "if you really loved me, you would," are classic manipulation phrases that mask controlling behavior. Here's what makes emotional manipulation particularly dangerous. It often targets your best qualities. Your empathy, desire to help others, and capacity for self-reflection are turned against you, making you question your own judgment. The solution starts with recognition. Learn to identify manipulation tactics, excessive flattery followed by requests, strategic helplessness, emotional explosions that seem disproportionate to the situation. Knowledge is your first line of defense. Strong individuals maintain emotional boundaries by staying grounded in reality. They keep records of interactions when necessary, trust their instincts, and aren't afraid to call out manipulative behavior. "I notice you're trying to make me feel guilty for having boundaries." What's crucial to understand is that emotional manipulators rarely change without significant professional help. Your role isn't to fix them, it's to protect yourself from their toxic influence. The impact of standing up to emotional manipulation can be intense. Manipulators often escalate their tactics when challenged, turning to mutual friends, spreading rumors, or intensifying their guilt trips. Stay firm. This reaction confirms you're making the right choice. Protecting yourself from manipulation isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining your mental health and authentic relationships. Every time you refuse to engage with manipulative tactics, you're strengthening your self-respect. The most powerful response to emotional manipulation is often emotional detachment. Not coldness, but a calm, measured response that demonstrates you're no longer susceptible to emotional blackmail. By refusing to tolerate emotional manipulation, you create space for genuine, healthy relationships based on mutual respect rather than control. Your peace of mind is non-negotiable, and maintaining it requires consistent boundaries. Number 5, boundary violations. Let's talk about something that self-respecting people guard religiously: personal boundaries. Not just the obvious physical ones, but the subtle, everyday boundaries that protect your mental and emotional space. When these are violated, it's not just annoying, it's an assault on your personal sovereignty. Boundary violations come in countless forms: the coworker who dumps their emotional baggage on you daily, the friend who shows up unannounced, or the family member who shares your personal information without permission. Each violation chips away at your sense of control and personal space. Here's what makes boundary violations particularly complex. They often come from people who claim to care about you. This creates an internal conflict. You feel obligated to tolerate the violation because of the relationship, even as your self-respect erodes. Self-respecting individuals understand that boundaries aren't just suggestions, they're essential requirements for healthy relationships. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, they're not just being inconsiderate. They're demonstrating a fundamental lack of respect. The psychology behind boundary violations is revealing. People who consistently violate boundaries often grew up in environments where personal limits weren't respected. But understanding the reason doesn't mean you have to accept the behavior. Strong boundaries require clear communication and consistent enforcement. It's not enough to hint at your limits. You must state them explicitly. "I need advance notice before visits," or "I don't discuss my salary with family members." What's fascinating is how people react when you start enforcing boundaries. Some will test them immediately, others will act offended, and a few might even try to convince you that having boundaries is selfish. These reactions tell you everything about why boundaries are necessary. The solution isn't to become a fortress, but to be selective about who gets access to your time, energy, and personal space. Think of boundaries like the walls of your house. You decide who gets a key and under what conditions they can use it. Maintaining boundaries requires courage, especially with long-standing relationships where boundary violations have become normalized. Remember, just because someone has always acted a certain way doesn't mean they have the right to continue. The transformation happens when you start viewing boundary enforcement as self-respect in action. Each time you uphold a boundary, you're telling yourself and others that your well-being matters. Self-respecting people understand that good boundaries actually improve relationships. When limits are clear and respected, there's less resentment, more genuine connection, and a healthier dynamic for everyone involved. Your right to set and maintain boundaries isn't up for debate. Those who truly value you will respect your limits, even if they don't understand them. Those who don't respect your boundaries aren't entitled to your energy or attention. Number 6, constant negativity. Let's dive into something that can drain your life force faster than a vampire at a blood bank. Constant negativity. Self-respecting people understand that allowing persistent negativity in their life is like voluntarily drinking poison every day. The science is clear. Prolonged exposure to negativity affects your brain chemistry, immune system, and even your ability to make sound decisions. It's not just unpleasant, it's literally harmful to your physical and mental health. What makes chronic negativity particularly dangerous is its infectious nature. Like a virus, it spreads to every aspect of your life, coloring your perspective and gradually convincing you that pessimism is realism. Here's the crucial distinction. This isn't about avoiding people going through tough times or refusing to engage with life's challenges. It's about recognizing when someone's negativity has become their primary mode of existence. The chronic complainer, the eternal victim, the person who can find the dark cloud around every silver lining. These individuals don't just share their perspectives. They actively work to pull others into their negative worldview. Self-respecting people recognize that tolerating constant negativity isn't being supportive. It's being complicit in their own emotional drainage. They understand that optimism and realism can coexist without defaulting to perpetual pessimism. The solution isn't to cut off every negative person immediately, but to set clear boundaries around how much negativity you're willing to absorb. This might mean limiting exposure, redirecting conversations, or being direct about the impact of their attitude. What's fascinating is how negative people often react when you stop engaging with their pessimism. They might accuse you of being naive or unsympathetic, not realizing that their constant negativity is a choice, not a necessity. Strong individuals maintain their positive outlook without dismissing real challenges. They understand that acknowledging difficulties while maintaining hope isn't contradiction. It's emotional intelligence. The impact of removing constant negativity from your life is profound. Your energy levels improve, your outlook brightens, and you find yourself attracting more positive opportunities and relationships. Protection from negativity requires active maintenance. Like weeding a garden, you need to regularly assess your relationships and environments, removing or limiting exposure to sources of chronic negativity. By refusing to tolerate constant negativity, you're not just protecting your mental health, you're creating space for growth, opportunity, and genuine joy. Your emotional environment is too important to surrender to perpetual pessimism. Number 7, disrespect for time and energy. This is the culmination of everything we've discussed. The ultimate test of self-respect is how you allow others to treat your time and energy. Because let's face it, if you're not guarding these resources with your life, you're essentially giving away your most valuable assets for free. Think about it. Your time and energy are finite resources. Every minute spent on people who drain you, projects that don't serve you, or situations that deplete you is a minute you'll never get back. Self-respecting people understand this at a bone-deep level. Here's where it gets real. Society has conditioned us to believe that being constantly available and always saying yes makes us good people. But here's the truth bomb. Depleting yourself to please others isn't nobility. It's self-sabotage. The most insidious form of disrespect for your time and energy comes disguised as opportunities, favors, or quick requests. It's the meeting that could have been an email. The friend who always needs just 5 minutes that turns into hours. The projects that offer exposure instead of payment. Self-respecting individuals understand that energy vampires come in many forms. Sometimes they're obvious, the drama creators, the chronic complainers, but often they're subtle, the people who constantly seek advice but never take it, the ones who always need just one more thing. The solution starts with a fundamental shift in mindset. Your time and energy aren't community property. They're your most precious resources. When you start treating them that way, you'll be amazed at how many people have been casually helping themselves to your reserves. Here's what makes this particularly challenging. Setting boundaries around your time and energy often triggers guilt. You might worry about being selfish or unhelpful. Remember this: you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't serve others effectively when you're depleted. Strong individuals develop a filtering system for their time and energy investments. They ask themselves, does this align with my values and goals? Is this a fair exchange of energy? Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I feel obligated? The transformation happens when you start treating your time and energy with the same respect you'd give to your money. Because in many ways, they're even more valuable. You wouldn't let someone repeatedly steal from your wallet. Don't let them steal your life force either. What's fascinating is how people react when you start protecting your time and energy. Some will be offended, others will try to guilt trip you, and a few might even try to convince you that you're being difficult. These reactions are actually valuable feedback. They show you who's been benefiting from your lack of boundaries. The impact of protecting your time and energy is profound. Your productivity increases, your relationships improve, and most importantly, you regain control over your life's direction. You'll find yourself with more resources to invest in what truly matters to you. By refusing to tolerate disrespect for your time and energy, you're making a powerful statement about your self-worth. You're declaring that your life force is valuable and that access to it is a privilege, not a right. These 7 principles of self-respect aren't just guidelines, they're game changers. When you stop tolerating these behaviors, you're not just setting boundaries, you're reclaiming your power and dignity. Remember, self-respect isn't about being difficult or unapproachable. It's about maintaining standards that protect your well-being and allow you to show up as your best self in the world. The journey to building unshakable self-respect starts with small decisions. Each time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, each time you maintain a boundary, you're building a stronger foundation for your life. If you found value in these insights, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical wisdom on building a life of dignity and purpose. Drop a comment below sharing which of these 7 points resonated most with you. Until next time, remember, your self-respect is non-negotiable.